Welcome to the Instigators Hockey Show. I'm Paulie D. He's Chris Katsopoulos. He's somewhere over here. There's Katsy. Welcome to the Instigators Hockey Show.
Yeah, and I got my new beer for the night, Guinness. Little Guinness.
We got our beer. We got our beers. We got our notes. We got the games. We got the information. Now all we need is you. Here we go. What's today? Today is April 11th. The Monday, April 11th. We don't do a lot of Monday shows, but this week and I think next week we're going to. So I'll keep you posted on that. The studio's almost done. I finished painting this weekend, so we're getting there. We're getting there. With that being said, Barry, look at Barry. This guy is like clockwork. It's right there. Bang.
Where's the man?
He's the best. Actually, guys, both of you guys, Katsi, I have your shirt. I've had your shirt for like longer than I'd like to admit. Barry, I'm getting your shirt this week. I'm going to send it out. So, Barry, make sure you message me your address. I'll send that.
You're a busy guy, Paulie. You're a busy guy.
I'll tell you, I can't.
That's the closest I got to a Stanley Cup right there.
I'll be honest with you. I can't wait to slow down. I'm getting to the point where I'm just ready to slow down. So.
Hey, Paulie, life gets in the way sometimes. You know how it goes.
I want to thank Island Printing for so much. These shirts and just Island Printing has just been amazing. Just amazing. If you need anything, please get in contact with me. Look me up in the group. I believe just whatever you need. You need shirts, you need mugs, you need hats. Whatever you want to put on it, they're fantastic. They'll get them out to you. Just send me your information. I'll get it over. I'll get you all the information you need. Look us up on the Facebook group. You can hit me up personally on either one of my pages, the show page for Paulie D, or my personal page if you're a personal friend of mine. And then if you want to reach out to Katsi and ask Katsi, hey, how do I get some shirts, hats, whatever you want.
I will just send you right to his page.
Right, exactly. This is an example of some of the work. I know. I'm just so happy. So again, thank you. But we got some work to do, so let's get going. I know we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to start around the league in the NHL. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to talk about, and of course, you know my Kindle here wants to take a dump on me. But I think we'll start the day with some of the top news, some of the stars around the league. I know, there's a lot to be talked about with Toronto being, an original six and a huge hockey city, probably the biggest hockey city in Canada. Austin Matthews just collected multi-points in all four of his outings, topping the leagues in goals. He's just on an absolute tear, and there's a lot to be said about, what Austin Matthews has brought to the Leafs. And, I know, Koch, you want to talk about, the goal scoring and, the Toronto's a tough place to play. It's probably the toughest place to play in Canada and all the hockey world. But
I think it's probably Montreal personally, just by a little bit. Their fans are a little more psycho than Toronto's fans, but Austin Matthews. We've known about him for quite a few years now, but he finally broke the Toronto Maple Leafs record for goals scored in a season. I think he's up to 58 or something like that right now. I'm not positive. It's at 58 or 56. I think. Boy, oh boy, what a magical season he's having. Where would they be without him? Think about it. I mean, they're playing pretty good right now. They still have I'll get to what I think about him and the 50-goal thing quick, but I'll just say the Leafs are still a dangerous team as far as I'm concerned because of their offensive prowess. They have a lot of really slick scoring up front on that team. The defense has a couple of good players, but it's still a little suspect, and their goaltending's been up and down like a yo-yo this year. So if they can put that all together, they're going to be tough out. But anyhow, Austin Matthews with the 50-plus goals, he broke the record of a former teammate of mine, Rick Five. Okay, and he's going to break it by a mile now. Squid, it was his nickname, Rick Five from PEI, Prince Edward Island. He had 54 one year with the Leafs, but that was he had Rick Five had 350 goal seasons in a row with a really horseshit team. I'll call it what it is. The early 80s. I don't know if they were much better than we were in Hartford at the time, but he managed to still put 350 goal seasons together with the help of Billy Derlago, who was a pretty good playmaker back then. But I got to just say this about Rick Vive. I don't know why we traded him. I still think it was a horseshit trade. We traded away Stevie Thomas and Bob McGill and Rick Vive to Chicago for Al Secord and Eddie Olchuk. And as a teammate of all of them, eventually, I still think it was not an even trade. But Rick Vive is probably going to go down in my book, and anybody that played with him will know this. I don't think there's a 50-goal scorer in the history of hockey, especially obviously the NHL, I should say. It took a fucking beating like he did, Paulie. Yeah. That man took a beating. I watched him when I played with him. I beat the shit out of him so many times when I played against him. I knew that if I went after him when I was in Hartford, New York, I was going to get my name in the paper up in Toronto, in my hometown. I fought him twice. I knocked him out with a check in Hartford. I watched him as a teammate, though, just get absolutely destroyed in front of the net. Cross-check like you wouldn't believe, punched in the back of the head. And I don't think you could ever find another 50-goal scorer that actually got the crap beat out of him as much as Rick Vive. That showed me how tough a guy he was and how resilient he was. He didn't score 50 with us, but I think he scored 40-something my first year there in Toronto. There's other guys like Al Secord who scored 50 goals, but Al Secord was a lot tougher than Ricky Vive, and it didn't take much of a beating when he scored his 50. Trust me, Al was a tough guy. But Rick Vive is going to go down as one of the toughest hombres to score 50 goals because he got the living crap beat out of him almost every night to score those goals.
You know what I didn't know, Kotz, that I just read in this campaign here was that not only did he break Rick Vive's franchise record for goals in a season, as well as surpassing Jimmy Carson and Kevin Stevens for the most goals by a U.S.-born player in a season.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought Mike Modano never scored 50 goals in a season.
I'm not positive on that.
I guess not.
Modano has the points, I think, total points on the time for a U.S. player.
Yeah.
No, it was he broke Jimmy Carson's record.
Yeah, and Kevin Stevens.
Yeah. Hey, listen, he's an incredible player. He's a dangerous guy when he gets the puck on his stick. His shooting prowess has obviously improved over the years, but you get killed both ways with him. He can either shoot it past you, or he can make you look stupid, look like a fire hydrant out there and just walk right around you. That's how good he is.
Kotz, what kind of guy was Vive in Rick Vive in the locker room? What kind of guy was he? Was he quiet? Was he boisterous? Was he a clown? What was he?
No, I think he was an okay guy to do. I had good times, and once we became teammates, we played golf a lot in the summertime. I took him for a lot of money, because I was a little better than him in golf. But no, he's a good guy. He was our captain. I think what happened one year there before the trade happened, he came to practice late one day. They took his captaincy away, which I thought was just a horseshit move. Guys are late once in a while. It happens. You know what I mean? But there was a. We were at a bridge crossing there in Toronto. You had guys like Boreas Salmi in his mid-30s. I think I was probably the next oldest guy, and I was only 25, maybe 26. When I got there, that was a regular player on the defense, because we had Gary Nyland was a young kid, Bob McGill, Jim Benning, Bill Root. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Al Frady. So and plus when I got there, Wendell Clark was a rookie. We just picked up Wendell Clark in the draft that year, and we all know what kind of a career he had. He was a great guy, great player right off the bat. And there was a little bit of I could see a little bit of the seniority thing getting deteriorated there when Rick was the captain a little bit, because you had the younger guys like Russ Cortnell, Gary Lehman. I mean, there's a whole bunch of younger guys that were on that team. I'm not saying they caused any problem, because they really didn't, but you can see there was a gap. You know what I mean? Where I can remember sometimes like Rick would try and speak up in the dressing room, and from across the room somebody would just yell, "Oh, shut the fuck up!" You know what I mean? I mean, it's your captain you're talking about, but I can appreciate what Rick Vaive did for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, I know from my personal experience that I gave him a rough time when I played against him, and I saw it with my own eyes as a teammate, the beating he took. So for him to hold that record as long as he did, score 3 years in a row, 50, with basically a really, really bad hockey club, is something. But Austin Matthews, we're talking about another stratosphere, different way of scoring, different type of game today. Not as quite, take a beating like you used to. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody takes a beating anymore. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to touch anybody from that. So.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
So, kudos to Austin Matthews, but now as any Leaf fans out there, I'm just going to say it. I still have a small spot in my heart. Obviously, I'm a Ranger guy all the way, but I'm hoping you guys do well this year. But this is where Austin Matthews has to step up, and all the other guys on the team, because last I looked, I think he's like 0 for 5 in the playoffs, something like that. I don't think he's won a round.
Yeah.
So
I'll take it.
If he has, somebody's going to correct me, but it's time to show up in the playoffs for once. These guys like Draisaitl out in Edmonton, and McDavid. You guys got to start winning things rather than winning scoring titles and stuff like that. That's the way I see that, Paulie.
Hey, question for you. Do you see the chat room?
No, I don't put it on.
All right.
Who's asking what now?
No, Barry had a question for you, and I was looking.
What is it? Give it. You can tell me what it is.
Chris, at the time, wasn't the coach going after the younger kids and wanted to get rid of the old vets? When you played in Toronto, I was going to ask you.
Which coach you talking about? Are you talking? I was there with Dan Maloney, and then we let him go after my first season. Brought the white-haired ghost in, Brophy. So which one are you talking about?
What
the white-haired ghost was a disaster from the start. I know I'm beating a dead horse again. The guy's a disaster. I could give two shits about anything John Brophy did. Okay, he was a disaster.
How many years did you play with Toronto, Chris?
4 years. 4 years. It was something to play for your hometown team. I'll admit that.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, you must have loved it.
It was. I mean, I had a great time my first year with Dan Maloney. I mean, he treated. That may be what Barry's talking about. Dan Maloney treated the veterans a little better than I think, obviously, the young kids. That's right. Maloney was like that as a player. You know what I mean? He treated me well, and I played hard for him. I played hard for every coach I ever played for, but him I really enjoyed playing for, so I would do anything for him. And he treated me very well. And then the white-haired ghost came in and tried to treat me like a piece of shit. All there is to it. I never bowed down to him 1 second. You know what I mean?
Oh, fuck. That's hilarious.
Well, that's true. I mean, people know it. You can shed a tear for the guy now that he's gone, but I won't. I won't shed one tear in my lifetime for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got.
Tell it like it is, Paulie. Tell it like it is.
We got a couple of things we got to move on to. So go ahead. Let's move on. But I tell you, it was an interesting fact. I didn't know that he was Matthews was the current holder of the most goals in a season by an American player. So Interesting.
Well, he just broke it. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I believe he's from Arizona.
Kevin Stevens was the guy. So
isn't he from Arizona too? I think so. He's born in Arizona, so it just goes to show you how the Wayne Gretzky trade towards the south, there, LA, kind of influenced a lot of players from that area to play hockey.
Yeah, it does. It does show you how the influence that Wayne Gretzky had on the league and throughout the country. So good stuff. All right, here's a pretty hot topic, and I don't know if it's too early in the program, but I want to do it anyway because there's a lot to talk about here, and I know it's going to flow into a couple of the other conversations. And I don't know if where we start, but we could start.
Hey, it's our show. We can start wherever the F we want. You know that.
So, Chris, we've ranted and raved about how the league has changed so much and not for the better. And some things for the better, but mostly when it comes to, you know what? Maybe I'll say this in jest of an overall crap. I don't know what I just did, but
you're all right.
I don't want to say player safety because it's not it, but it kind of is. In the end, Cots, we've talked for many years about the hitting, the head down, the league trying to protect every player, and not the players protecting themselves. We've talked about all those topics, but I want to talk about what's happening now with the new NHL, and I know you're fired up about this, and it's a conversation to have, and it's a big piece. Now, guys are throwing good hits and having to drop the gloves to defend themselves in the NHL because they are throwing good hits. And we've seen it all around the league with almost any player that has the courage to throw a hit that is going to put another player on their ass because either they have their head down or they're in the midst of a play or whatever the case may be. But now these guys are having to defend themselves for these hits. And I want you to kind of elaborate on all of it.
Well, I can't stand it anymore. I mean, I've been watching this crap for years now, Paul. It all started, when they instituted that instigator penalty. That's what they tried to get that, to stop the fighting and all that. And then, I'm gonna take it to youth hockey right now. You took hitting out of youth hockey to a certain age, where these kids don't know how to take a hit or give a hit or prepare for a hit or, prepare for some kind of body collision until a certain age. And I think a lot of that happens in the NHL, where these guys have been taught a certain way that they can play the game and not, it's okay not to be aware of anybody like a freight train coming down the ice to knock you on your ass.
Right.
And that was happening a lot. Now it's turned into player A sees player B carrying the puck with his head down. Player A goes for the clean hit, no head hit, hits him in the middle of the chest, knocks him flat on his ass, the feet up in the air, crowd goes woo, and automatically somebody does like a dive, like a jet plane dive back towards that player A who made the hit and gets confronted. Now, I mean, really, I'm going to say it, Paul and Harsh, what the fuck is going on here? Last I looked in the NHL, okay, the rule book says that you're allowed to body check.
Right.
Hello, people, you're allowed to body check. Now, what really irks me is you're getting guys now that are circling back to defend their teammate who I'll say 50 to 60% aren't fighters. Now that it's becoming, to me, like an epidemic, it's not a pandemic, it's an epidemic. It's been going on for years. Anytime this happens now, I'm almost praying that the hitter knocks the shit out of the guy that attacks him. I really do now. That's how angry I am about this. The NHL has made a big, big mistake on this. They really have. They've screwed it up so many times. You can't hit this way. You can't hit that way. Oh, that's a head hit. This is that. This is that. Now we got fights happening that shouldn't be happening. The way it was in the olden days, I know people hate to hear it, but it's the facts, folks. The facts. Your number one or number two player on your team were the only ones, and I mean the only ones, if they were hit with a clean, hard check, that you sent a message to the other team about it.
Right.
If it was number 16, 15, 14, all the way down to the last man on the roster, you're on your own.
Right. Keep your head up.
Not today. It could be anybody now. It could be Gus Schwartz, the 20th man on the roster. He gets nailed with a clean check, and automatically somebody's got to go fight him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pure stupidity. And this goes for every team. I'm not just saying this to bail out this team or that team or this team or that team. If it happens to the Rangers and you do it, you protect one or two guys in your team. The key guys. That's it. The other 16 guys that were in the lineup that night, guess what? You're on your own on this shit. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's a dirty, dirty hit, like an elbow to the head, a cross check, or from behind into the boards, I'm talking about a clean, textbook body check where there was no call on the play.
Right.
So what do you do to fix this now? What do you suggest? I know what I'm going to suggest, but I would like to hear what you think first.
Well, I think we kind of covered a couple of things here. I mean, obviously, what's the name of the show? The Instigators Hockey Show. If this rule was ever to be applied, this would be the time when you instigate a fight after a clean play, as we spoke about, then there should be an automatic instigator penalty. And then with the instigator penalty, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, please, if you get an instigator, it's an automatic ejection of the game.
Gotta be. You gotta throw these assholes out. I don't care if it's a New York Ranger that does it from now on.
Right.
I really don't care. It's an automatic ejection now. If there's no penalty called on the play and it's deemed a clean, legal hit, you go attack the guy, you're gone. Out. Right. Let me tell you, you start doing that, you're going to start accruing a whole bunch of game misconducts. And guess what happens after a certain amount of game misconducts? Now suspensions happen. This will curb the shit that's going on right now.
Right.
But this is the league that decided they wanted to kind of, tap down the fighting in hockey. Okay. No more, 3, 4, 5 goons on a team like the good old days. We get that. I get that too.
Right.
But you're getting this kind. This is just embarrassing to watch when a guy makes a clean hit. I don't care which team you're cheering for. I make a clean. Listen, Scott Stevens would have 15 fights a game now. Okay.
Right.
I would have to have. I know for a fact I would have at least one fight a game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Back in my day, we cleaned up guys quite a bit with clean hard body checks. I didn't get attacked all the time.
Right.
In fact, I don't remember getting attacked at all for hitting a guy clean like that.
I get it.
But Scott Stevens, go to his resume. He laid out 2 or 3 guys a game with clean hits. Yeah. They'd still be fighting today if we had the same thoughts that the players have today, Paulie. It's a joke. The NHL screwed themselves big time by trying to tap down fighting. And you can't do this and you can't do that, but they're allowing this shit to happen. This is all on the NHL. This is all on the coaches. This is all on the GMs. This is all on the board of governors that all voted for this shit. Okay?
I agree.
All on them. It's all on them. I don't care what anybody says. It's a fact. I respect a lot of GMs and a lot of this that doing their job in the league, but you're the one that's allowed this shit to happen. Fix it. Automatic. If there's no penalty called on the play for the hit, it's an automatic game misconduct. And if your guy goes, too bad. Somebody on your team that you cheer for, too bad. It's the way it is.
Right. No, I don't disagree. I think that they have to institute the instigator on this stuff. And I think that because the league has decided so many times to decide how this game is going to be played when it comes to the physical attributes, to the physical part of the game, period. It's so important to say, okay, well, being that we've done all of these things, we have to now move into if there's no call, it's a legal hit, and then a guy has to defend himself for throwing a body check, and he has to throw, he's got to drop his gloves to defend himself. Then you institute the instigator. You get a 10-minute. You get 2 minutes there. Maybe they make, instead of 2 minutes, maybe they make it a 4-minute minor, and then they give you a game misconduct. You throw you out of the game. With that being said, I don't know where it's ever going to stop, but they've done everything they can to get to this point, and now when you throw a good body check, you got to worry about defending yourself.
It's almost automatic now. It's incredible.
Yep.
It's incredible, and I just don't understand it. It's like, like if you go back to the gunslinger days when they had a duel out in the middle of the street, that was the time to take care of it right there. During that time when it was happening, you can't police anything in life after the fact, Paulie. You understand what I'm saying? You can't do that. You can't do that from your up in the office in the NHL offices. You can't do it when you're having your little 2-week little party time down there with the Board of Governors meetings. You police it right there and then. You put the rule in now. You put it in, and these players will know now.
Yeah.
They'll know.
I agree. But something has to change. Something has to change. There must be change now because the rule book.
Where are all the crybabies that wanted hockey fighting abolished to start with? All your reporters and your Larry Brookses of the world and all this stuff. Where are they all now on it? I don't hear anything from these people.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's a double standard. It's a double standard, and it's a problem. Which leads me into the next note that I have here. And I think this is huge in the discussion. We just talked about players having to defend themselves when it comes to a good, clean hit. And now I want to go on the flip side. What is the NHL doing about players like a Guinea Malkin, who the other day decided to not only two-hand slash, but then use his stick in a high cross-check to the face. And I know that I think it's tomorrow he meets with player safety. But, Kotz, at this point, and I've said this for a long time, I felt like certain players, and I think you have too, and I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of the Penguin players seem to have walked away almost unscathed at times. And this guy has been – he's a great talent, don't get me wrong, but he plays a lot stronger than he would if he was put on his ass and punched his teeth out, to be honest with you. So talk about the Malkin incident, and not only obviously we know, I want you to talk about how it would be handled in your day and how you feel like it should be handled today.
Well, he's a repeat offender. I mean, I'm going to go back to when Paul Maurer was playing defense for the New York Rangers, and everybody makes fun of Subban now, calling him Sluban, but Malkin was the original slew footer. He did it quite a bit back in his early career with Pittsburgh.
Sluban, I like it.
Okay. I remember seeing him taking out Maurer, from behind, sticking the leg out. And if you watch that video we're talking about, Borowicki, who, he's a tough guy. He fights all the tough guys. He's always played a hard-nosed game. Has he ever been borderline dirty himself? Probably at one time. But for most part, he's a pretty clean, hard, tough guy. Whatever altercation they had previous that I didn't see, but I saw the video of it all. If you see the first connection between the two, Malkin tries to slew foot him first before he does the chop. He sticks the right leg out and tries to do it. Then he chops the stick out of his hand, like he's chopping a tree.
Right.
And Borowicki challenges him, and he takes the stick and basically jams it in Borowicki's jawline. Now, this is Malkin for you. Like you said, a great talent when he plays hockey. You know, he's getting up there on age too, so he might not be so great anymore. But
yeah, he's
also an opportunist. He's done this shit more often than people want to believe.
Very true.
He's gotten away with it. He's gotten away with it big time. And you know, he's I can say it, you know, two ways. He's a great player, but he's also a dirty prick, and he gets away with it. He's an opportunist, Paulie. An opportunist is somebody who takes advantage of a situation on the ice, knowing quite well he'll never get his ass kicked for it. And he's done that throughout his whole career. Have you ever really seen him drop his gloves, like square off with anybody? No. He'll throw punches when there's a scrum and there's people in between and all that. But that's another one. And you're right on this one, especially with the way the season's like winding down here and positions in the standings are still, you know, not settled yet with Pittsburgh. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this meeting tomorrow. I mean, if that's not a minimum 5-game suspension, I don't know what is anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be a minimum. It was clearly an intent. They always talked about it was an intent to hit the guy in the head with a body check. Remember? Well, what more do you want here? He took the stick and he drove it through the guy's face.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to try to go to another area, because the NHL is not reporting. So the article that I read, they said Monday he would be meeting with the player safety hearing for actions on Monday, which is today, Monday the 11th. Yeah. But there's no reporting on what came out of that meeting. And I think it's very important because I believe that the hockey world will be watching. And I think at this point, it's really going to determine for a lot of people, and I would say it's fair. It's a fair analogy to see what kind of hearing took place today and what's going to happen. Because if this guy gets away easily, for me, I'll be honest, and I haven't really looked at his past, but I know Malkin's been in front. I know he's been in front of the player safety committee before.
He's a dirty player, Paulie.
It's a dirty action. It's a double dirty action. It's a swing. It's a two-handed swing on the hands, and then it's a cross check to the face. And I feel
you forget. Go look at it again. He tried to slew foot him at the beginning of it all.
So
the right foot goes out there.
With that being said, I want to see what the NHL does because I believe if it's less than 5 games, it's a problem. I really do.
Well, it just goes to show you, Paulie, the conviction of the NHL Rules Committee.
Right.
It's good for some, not good for the others.
You know,
they've proven that over the years. How many times Alex Ovechkin skate off the hook?
Yes, too many.
How many times did he get off the hook? Instead of calling it what it was, a hit to the head, they'll say, well, it was a great hit by the big beast Alex Ovechkin. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
and Malkin, the same thing. Although Malkin has probably been, you know, penalized a little bit more. But he's dirty. He's been a dirty player. You know, and I give him the benefit of the doubt of his ability to play and score and all that, being an MVP in the Stanley Cup. But when you turn around and do shit like that, you know, somebody should have chopped his head off right there and then. That would have happened in the old days. I guarantee you that much. That would have been a reason why everybody jumped somebody right there.
I got to tell you, I'm very surprised that. I mean, I'm surprised Malkin didn't get his head handed to him.
Well, it's because the way the league is now, Paul. They've tried to top that all down, all that crap down. Yeah. So that's why I call him an opportunist. He knows that he can do stuff like that without any repercussion.
Yeah, see, it says on Monday for cross-check Nashville Predators, received a 4-minute penalty, a high sticking, blah, blah, blah. So we still don't have we still don't have the information of what happened today.
It'll be interesting because with all the playoff ramification, we'll see if they side with Pittsburgh on this one or they don't. But to me, it's the conviction of your rule book. If you're going to, even if we disagree with their rules, which we do, you and I and a lot of people, if that's what the rule says and that's what the suspension amounts to, then give it to them. Don't back off.
Yeah, agreed.
But we know how they do things. Sometimes, you know how it goes. It's like everything else.
I lost you a little bit there. But let's move on here. Let's move on. We'll talk about
grab a beer while you're at it. Keep talking.
I'm sure next week we'll be talking about what happened to Malkin. Let's do we're going to do some standings, and then we'll talk New York Rangers. So everyone, if you want to take a minute, go grab a beer, use the restroom, whatever you want to do. I'm going to pull up some information. We're going to talk real quick about the current standing, who's hot, who's not, who's coming in, who's going out. And then, of course, we're going to talk New York Rangers making the playoffs for the first time in several years, and the big game about tomorrow night, and how the Rangers will fare. Hopefully, how the Rangers fare out of that. So, real quick, I'll just give you the one NHL game around the league. It's third period. The Jets and the Canadiens. The Jets have taken the lead 2-1. Shots on goal 29-21 in favor of the Jets. So,
and two of the most disappointing teams up north this year. Montreal had such a great run last year, and Winnipeg did too. And both of them are on the outside. Montreal's been on the outside looking in since the beginning of the season, basically. But Winnipeg, I think, mathematically could still make it, but it doesn't look like they're going to get there.
No. All right, let's do this quickly. The looks like playoff. We'll start with the clinches. The Florida Panthers have clinched in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic Division. So has Toronto in the Atlantic. Metropolitan, the Rangers and Carolina both have clinched in the Metropolitan, and we're still waiting for. We have the wild cards right now at Boston and Washington. So there can be a little bit of change there as far as positioning, but not a lot. It looks like it's dead set in stone. I
think the top 8 are dead set in the East.
Yeah.
But you can still see a change of at least 2, 3, 4 teams though that are in between Florida and Washington.
Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh are still looking for their clinchers. And then, like I said, the wild cards are Boston and Washington. So we'll see here. We'll see. When you head out to the West, Colorado is clinched in the Central, and they're actually the only team in the West that has actually clinched and has a given playoff spot. Be interesting to see. I mean, I think we all know Calgary's got it. Just be interesting to see how many. They're at 97 points. Colorado with 110 points.
They're a tough team.
I still think St. Louis is going to make a little bit of noise, and I'd be real curious to see if the Vegas Golden Knights sneak in between Nashville and Dallas. They're not. There's 3.
They're not in right now, Vegas.
No, they're not. They're the outside, but they're only 2. They're 3 points behind Nashville.
That's going to be a race there. The last 3 teams there. Dallas is kind of like. Dallas had a chance to move ahead in a playoff spot by a lot, but they've kind of lost a couple games the last couple of weeks that they should have won.
Yep. So,
how many 100-point teams are there going to be this year? There's 4 in the East already.
I mean, Calgary's on the cusp with 97.
Okay.
Obviously Colorado's broken it with 110. I think they lead the league, right? I don't think anybody has.
I think Florida's got 108.
I don't know. Minnesota has how many games left?
There's enough games for at least 3 or 4 teams in the West to get up there, but
so
the East is going to have probably 6, maybe 5 or 6 teams now.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, I'd be surprised if they don't hit 100. They're at 96. Carolina's 102. Pittsburgh's at 94. It's a possibility. I'm trying to think. They have 6 games left, so it's there. They have
3 wins. Paulie, they got 100.
Yep. So, very interesting. Very. It's gonna be fun to watch. But we'll see the placement of the teams, and obviously. I'm really interested to see how Boston and Pittsburgh fare, and Washington with 90 points. So that's a team that I have to say I'm very surprised with. But I know they've had their struggles with.
It's funny that I'm kind of promoting them this year. First time ever. Because they've been crappy all year, basically, considering what everybody expects out of Washington, and yet they're you know what I'm trying to say. They're not. They've never been contending for first or second or third or fourth. You know what I'm trying to say here? As much as I hate to say it, I'm going to keep repeating myself on it. That they are the team out of the 8 in the East that are probably the most dangerous team to play. You don't want to play them right off the bat, do you?
No.
You know what I'm trying to say here? Like they're a team that everybody slept on all year.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the team I am most scared of in the Metropolitan, actually in the whole Eastern Conference, is the Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes. They scare me. The Rangers don't look good against them. Tomorrow night's game is going to be huge. I think.
Paulie, Rangers have beaten them 2 out of 3 games so far this year.
Yeah, I just the last victory though, Kotz. I know you always say they don't draw pictures on the scorecards. They don't the box scores.
When Patrick Roy was doing it for the Montreal Canadiens and Kenny Dryden was doing it for the Montreal Canadiens, nobody ever brought that up. That's what your goalie's paid to do. And of all guys, Georgiev doing the job kind of threw a little,
Yeah, that's true.
Slap in the face to a lot of you Ranger fans. You know what I mean?
It is true. I mean, I won't disagree.
Listen, that's what your goalie gets paid for. There's going to be nights where your goalie has to be outstanding in the playoffs. In fact, he has to be better than outstanding in the playoffs. Best goaltending wins Stanley Cups, not best players up front.
Right.
So and the Rangers got a good one in Shesterkin. And if Georgiev has to play, so be it.
Yeah.
We'll
see. Tomorrow night's game is a real big game, and I'm actually going to be out tomorrow night with a family event. So I'm going to put that bad boy on record, and I'll be looking at it on my phone every 15 minutes or so. So
you look at everything like as a whole. When Tampa didn't start winning Stanley Cups till they got their goaltending situation straightened out.
Sure.
With that monster Vasilevsky.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now you got this guy, I can't remember his name, their home, was it Markstrom in Carolina? He's got 9 shutouts already.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost unheard of in today's hockey.
They're big goaltenders, though.
They're massive now compared to the good old days. I'll agree with that. But
Sturgeon's not a big goaltender, though.
But he's probably, I'd say, the most athletic goaltender out there right now. I mean, I've seen enough of him now. I was a little suspect. I would admit it. I was a little suspect of him being a 24, 25-year-old coming into the NHL after playing in the KHL. I mean, the KHL's one league, the NHL's another, and it took him a little time, but he's probably the most athletic and most zeroed in on where the puck is coming from out of all the goalies out there. Where the other guys, I'm not gonna diminish their athleticism, but it pays to be big and large. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
I always said, why not put a 500-pound goalie, a person who can stand on his skating pads and just block the whole net? You know what I mean? You tell them not to move, but these guys are good goalies too. But you're not going to win without a superior goaltender. That's just the way it goes. Every Stanley Cup winner over the last 10 years, if you look at their goaltender and what kind of season they had, it was a superb season by that goalie, not just the players up front.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously tomorrow night's game is big for the New York Rangers.
Yeah, huge.
You know, we have to talk about the New York Rangers' success. We have to talk about so many things that I have seen that I haven't seen in a long time. First of all, again, I have to tell you, Chris Drury he really has impressed me this year, Chris, with the late additions here, with the early additions, before the start of the seasons, the Ryan Reeves, the Barclay Goodrows, this team has a really good mix. We have great talent. Chris Kreider has peaked at the greatest time available to this team. You know, you talk about Mika Zibanejad growing as, a really and we've talked about for a long time, a number one centerman who really can do everything. He can shoot, he can pass, he can skate. He just adds so many different elements. So the Rangers have, for the first time, and I don't know how long, a mix of some grit, some guys that go and pay the price. You look at Dryden Hunt. Not a lot of people talk about Dryden Hunt, but I watch this kid's game every day, and he's probably one of my favorites. He goes in hard. He plays hard. He'll take the shot. He'll make the pass. He'll take whatever it takes. Guys like Dryden Hunt are what fill the gaps in this team that we haven't seen in a long time.
They eat up minutes. He eats up minutes for the top two lines. Get rested, get back out there. Paul, I said it from the beginning of the year. I think Chris Drury's probably going to end up being known for his GM duties as a New York Ranger than he was a player. I'm just being honest here. When you look at the moves he's made since he's taken over, whatever happened with JD and Mr. Gordon and the ownership, he knew he had star potential with the Zibanejads, okay, the Panarins. I'm just going to throw this out there. Potential with Kreider, okay, potential with Fox. What he brought in before the season started were not players that were going to infringe upon these potential star players. You understand where I'm getting at here? Where these guys they're not going to look over their shoulder for their ice time.
Right.
Now, you still have Lafreniere, first pick overall. You still have Kakko. And I don't even want to talk about Hilo because he's hurt again, and I know you loved it, so I'm not talking about it. And then you a trade deadline. What do? You go out there and you do the exact same thing, except this time you bring in guys that play a regular shift, whether it be a second line, third line, fourth line. It doesn't matter. You bring them in, and they're still the kind of player that are not going to infringe on your star guys.
Right.
And that's a way you mix a team together properly. Yeah. And if you went out and got a big splash player, a guy that's supposed to be a star, where are you going to put him on the power play now? You're going to take Panarin off the ice? You're going to take Zibanejad off the ice? You're going to take Kreider off the ice?
Right.
You know what I'm saying here? Right. And I think what he's done with Strome is a smart thing. I like Strome. Don't get me wrong. But if he's asking $6 or $7 million a year, I buy it.
No.
That's what what I mean? Because you know who's got his back? Cop.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah, absolutely.
What Drury did was he mixed in a little bit of extra ingredients to the sauce already.
Right.
Nothing that was going to overtake the sauce. That's how my analogy is on it. And they fit in well. You know, they fit in well.
Love
Braun can still play when he needs to, okay? Kopp, I mean, Mott, unfortunately got hit. Now, I still don't think it was a dirty hit. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. Everyone said, well, it was in a position to be hurt. Oh, so what? That's the game. It's your fault, not anybody else's.
Yeah.
Mott was playing well. You know, what I'm saying is that he never brought in guys that were going to be a threat to the actual top tier players on the team. And it worked so good because now he solidified the second, third, and fourth lines. They're better than what they were at the beginning of the year overall. And giving Matthew Schneider ice time, I think, is great. This kid's got it.
Yeah.
There's so much there. There's so much there. And again, I know I'm repeating myself again, but I got to say it. What did he give up?
No.
He gave up a bucket of used pucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't care what who he gave up player wise because they either had their chance to play for the Rangers or they weren't in the foreseeable future.
Right.
So my opinion of this team now has changed to the point where why not? They proved it all year, Paulie. Every month they've gone through a couple of clunker games, then come back and beat the Tampas and beat the Carolinas and beat this team and beat that team that was at the top tier. Right. And then they come up with a clunker again and lose to some shitty team. We get that, but that's hockey. Right. So I'm looking at the playoffs now and I'm thinking, I wasn't sure if they were contenders. Remember a few times early in the shows?
Yeah.
I think they're just as much a contender as anybody now. Why not? I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but I'm not going to say why not. I don't see anybody else that dominating.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you get Shesterkin to stand on his head like he is, and you get all those top guys playing like they can, why not?
Well, they got the number two. They got the number 2 power play, don't they?
Number 2 power play. Their 4th best record in the league.
You know
what I mean? Like, think about it here. We're talking about a team that nobody expected this from, and I still think there's naysayers out there saying that it's going to break down sooner or later, but it hasn't.
Yeah, it
just hasn't. And I think it's because there's good leadership in that dressing room with Chris Kreider. Phenomenal year. I'm looking. I hope he breaks the big record. I mean, he needs 6 goals to break Yarmer's record of 54, I think.
Was he at 49 though? He's at 49.
At 49. He's got how many games? 9 games left or something like that. To get 6 goals. I'd like to see him break it. He's earned every bit of it.
Me too.
Panarin all of a sudden is he still makes those a couple passes a game make me cringe, but in the end, he makes that pass either for the winning goal, the tying goal, whatever goal.
He's really turned it up. He's really turned it up. I tell you, Cots, as the year has gone by, if anyone goes back to the archives, I brought up Keiondre Miller. And I was on the fence with this kid in the beginning. I said, he doesn't really use his body. He's a big kid. And he reminded me of a former player that the Rangers had that was a big guy that never really used his body right. But this kid, yeah, exactly. This kid has eaten up good, valuable minutes, has showed a great defensive responsibility at such a young age. He's got good hands. He's got good skating feet. Obviously, he's got the reach. I mean, this guy for years to come is a huge element for what the New York Rangers are. Everyone talks about Fox, and rightfully so. But Keiondre Miller is coming into his own, and like Kotze said, if this kid gets even a tad bit of a mean streak in him, he'll be one of the best defensemen that the New York Rangers have seen since
he has, Paulie, lately. He has. I've watched him a little bit the last couple of weeks. He's starting to hit guys. He's throwing
himself around.
He actually grabbed somebody in a scrum. Yeah. This is the thing I've been harping on for 2 years. I understand he was a young kid and all that, but you got to do this thing right away. Let the people know that I'm not here to be messed around with. That way there, I'm telling you, the more he plays with a little bit more of a mean streak and aggressiveness, the less people are going to want to check him. the less people are going to want to try to take the puck off him. He'll be,
The
able
more
to,
us, yeah,
he'll be able to use that enormous talent of his
the more
even
space
better.
he'll get.
Even better.
Absolutely.
You know, and getting to Fox here, okay? Again, Fox is one of those where the end justifies the mean, but he's got to play better defensively. I'm sorry. His defensive style really is lacking these days. He's not. His positioning in front of the net with the opposition, I don't like at all. I just hope that they figure it out one day that maybe he needs to be paired with somebody else eventually.
According to the report from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Malkin will be suspended 4 games for cross-checking. How do you say the guy's name? Borchewski?
Borchewski.
So thank you, Barry, so much for that information. It looks like some information's come out of Pittsburgh that Malkin will get 4 games. I think that's fair. I know we got a 4-minute penalty on the ice. I said 5 games. 4 games seems to be.
I don't know how you again though. Like 4 games, 5 games. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that. But how's a 4-minute penalty fair when you cross check a guy in the mouth?
No, should have got a 5 and a game.
Guys get thrown out of games for less.
Right.
That's the NHL.
Thank you, Barry, for that.
Good job, Barry. Way to stay alert.
Barry's the best. But again, getting back to specific players on the Rangers, I just think that the Barkley Goodrows, the Dryden Hunts, I tell you who else I love. I love Bertrana.
Sure.
I think that's a great pickup. The guy's got hands. The guy fits well on that line. That line became more powerful with him because that guy's
not afraid to shoot the puck. I like when guys
he can put the puck in the net. He's not afraid. He's got talent. He can see well. He passes well.
You know what else he does? It's a small thing, but it's a thing that opposition defensemen will know because they've played against him already. He's got speed. He's got that speed.
Yeah.
Like where it looks like he crosses center ice and there's a back checker checking him. Looks like he's going to catch him, but he turns on another jet engine there, and he blows past that guy a little further. Then the defense have to back in a little bit on this guy because he has the speed.
Right.
That's a good again. Chris Drury didn't mess with the superstar status players on the team. He brought in guys to support them. And that was a smart move. And we're not tied. He's not tied up in any kind of money cap situation with these guys. The Strome thing. I mean, I hope he comes to a realization that I don't think he's worth $6-7 million a year. If he is, God bless him somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Drury did a good thing with all these guys, Paul. He just did a fantastic job as a GM so far. And again, the one thing I like about him, I think I've mentioned this to you on the phone, or maybe Greshner or some other guy I talked to, you don't hear much from him in the media. He's not out there, rah-rah his team and talking about his team. He's nice, keeps his card close to his vest, all that stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's not out there blabbing in the media like a lot of GMs like to do.
Right.
I think he's got like a cold calculation when he makes his moves. That's what I think. That's what I see. And I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic the way he's doing it.
I'm ecstatic with the way this team was put together and the way that they have gelled and what we're seeing now. I am pleasantly surprised. I'm very pleased. I think the other thing that, we haven't talked about is that I think the Rangers have played better defensively, responsibly. I think the defense is really coming together well. I think, early on in the year, we talked about how teams would have numerous amounts of golden opportunities,
Scoring
between the
chance.
hash marks.
Yeah.
Just scoring chances that really need to be limited. And Shesterkin was fantastic, but you still have to be concerned with when your team is giving up those types of quality chances. And I have to say that game after game, and I've watched, the defense has really come together as a whole. I think that a lot of what the Rangers, what was scaring us early on, they've really done a good job in plugging the holes. And again, like you said, they might not be the team to win it all, but I'll tell you what, they might be the team to win it all.
Exactly.
And for the first time to say that, it can be very exciting. This team that I saw beat the Penguins, this team the other night that just absolutely obliterated and never stopped against Ottawa. And I know the team that Ottawa is, but that's a game where the Rangers could have took it light, could have been soft, could have just did what they had. But I felt like the Rangers just kept coming. They kept working on their game. And that's the team that's starting to really excite me, both offensively, defensively, taking chances, knowing how to identify what to do, where to be. It's exciting to watch from an analytical point, to watch this team come together, and a lot of the X's and O's are actually coming together. The scoring chances against in golden opportunity areas, and I'm talking about the high slot between the hash marks, things like that. You don't see defensemen getting, whooped and just smoked in certain plays. Just a lot of good positioning, and very excited to see what this team could bring.
Well, it's not, it's obviously not an easy concept to get, but it's basically common sense how you play defense. You know your job, know your duty on the ice, and just do what you're supposed to do out there. Don't do any more and don't do any less. If you try to do more, that means you're doing somebody else's job. You know what I mean? And I think that when you come to that realization, team defense-wise, when one player breaks down, doesn't mean two players should break down, And that's what they're doing. If one player gets beat, they don't let the second player look stupid afterwards, get beat. But the only thing that I see that I still like this, I'm nitpicking here, obviously, but sometimes I feel that the Ranger defense backs in too far and guys are shooting from a good scoring area. Yeah. It's a good thing you have decent goaltending, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying here? Sometimes, I don't know, I think it's the way the game's played today because the players are coming at you so high speed as a defenseman, you got to worry about that. So you're probably backing in a little further than we did in our day. Because in our day, when I played, that guy would have been hacked and slashed somewhere between the blue lines by a forward or two by the time he got to me. So he would have been slowed down a little bit. Where today, you can't touch anybody. So I get it, but I'd like to see him stand up a little bit more when it's 2-on-2, 3-on-2, stuff like that.
So, Kotz, the relationship between the defenseman and the goaltending. Obviously, it's got to be a communication level that's profound in the game. And this is the part that people don't know, and it's fun to have the element that you bring is that. So with that, what you saying that obviously the game is a lot faster, so guys are coming in with greater speed. Defensemen are just trying to play angles and limit opportunities. There must be a huge part in where the goaltending understands the defenseman and what the defenseman is working on or doing at the same time, so it kind of helps them narrow down where they're going to attend.
Well, it makes it. You're absolutely correct. A great goaltender should understand each individual defenseman they have. Mm-hmm. You can't, as a goalie, you can't look at all 6 defensemen on the bench there and go, well, they're all going to be the same, so I'm going to treat them all the same. The way I handle the puck, the way I leave the puck behind the net. You know, if I'm going to pass them the puck, if I'm not going to. Everybody's different. Some guys. So it's up to the goaltender and the player to get together a little bit and chat about it. You know, like when it's a clean pickup behind the net, and you're not being forced. You know, where do I want the puck? You know, when you stop as a goalie, where do I want it? When I come behind the net to get it, do I want it in tight? Do I want it up against the boards? You know what I mean? Little things like that are important because that split second could cost you a goal. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with playing a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-2 and stuff like that. You know, some goalies I played with. I think you and I have talked about this on our blog show, blog talk radio show. I used to tell my goalies, look, if it's a 2-on-1 and it's an early 2-on-1, when I say early from like center ice in, I might attack that guy with the puck if I see his head down early. Because sometimes when you attack them early, they shit themselves, they screw up the puck, they don't get the pass off. But if I don't do that, I tell them, and I keep backing in, depending on which way they shoot, if it's an off-wing guy cut with a stick in the middle of the ice, I'm playing him.
Right.
You got the guy he might pass to. Vice versa, if it's a guy that's on his right wing but his sticks towards the boards, I got the passer, you got the shooter, because it's a tougher angle for him to score on. But if it's a shot coming down the right wing boards, he's got the center of the ice angle now. So I might attack him. And I did that with my goaltenders. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was perfect at it, but I was pretty successful breaking up a lot of 2-on-1s in my day because of those decisions and my goaltender understanding that and me understanding him.
I know what Chris is going to do in this play, which helps me eliminate.
He doesn't have to guess.
Right, exactly.
That's how you screw up a 2-on-1 as a defenseman when you make your goaltender guess.
Yes,
is he going to play the puck carrier or is he going to play the passer? Oh, shit, at the last second, he doesn't play either. Next thing you know, it's in the fucking net.
Right.
You know what I mean? These are little things. And the other thing I want to talk about goaltenders, too, though, they're your eyes. When you're coming this way to get the puck, their eyes are up front.
Right. Coming hard.
Talking to you, telling you, hey, there's a guy on your left. There's a guy coming on your right. You're good. You know what I mean? Like, bark these commands. Let me know. I mean, there's a lot of times where, like, I played with some goalies that didn't talk at all. So I used to have to look. I tried to look on the reflection on the glass if there's anybody coming behind me.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, shit like that. But a good goalie will communicate with his defenseman and vice versa. The defenseman will communicate with him. And trust me, in the end, it makes your goaltender look good and your defenseman look average. You know what I mean? Because if they score on any of those plays, they don't point at the goalie, they point at you, the D-man.
Right.
No, but communication's everything. It's the same thing up front too, Paul. Even the forwards, those guys know. Like Panarin knows where his guys are going to be when he makes those awesome backhand passes. Same with Zibanejad, you know. They know each other. They play with each other long enough now. And I think up front it's probably less communication. It's just common sense that they play with each other so long. You don't want to be barking stuff in the offensive zone so you alert the D. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in the defensive zone, you got to do a lot of barking, a lot of talking.
Yep. And there it is. There you have it. There it is. There you have it. That is the Instigators Hockey Show summed up. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's always a pleasure to
listen. I'm going to get salty once in a while with my language on here. This is what it's all about. You got to tell it like it is. And if you don't like it, you can complain to Paulie. Don't complain to me because I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, if you know Kotz, he really doesn't give a shit.
No, I respect. That's all.
Yeah. But obviously, I think this show brings a dynamic that no other show brings. You know, we don't sugarcoat it. We bring it hard. We want to discuss the topics, right, wrong, or indifferent, positive or negative. We love the game.
One last thing before we go. Who's on favorite for MVP, Paulie?
Oh, jeez.
Is it Austin Matthews? Is it Draisaitl? Is it Shesterkin?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, that's tough. There's different awards for different reasons, and Austin Matthews. Well, Draisaitl. How many goals does Draisaitl have? I didn't
50.
Look.
He's got 50.
So, I mean,
he's also leading the league in points. I think he's got 108 or something.
Yeah, I mean, so he'll win the Rocket Richard, or possibly win the Rocket Richard, right? No, because Rocket Richard is just goals, not points, right? The Hart Trophy is the big one. The Hart Trophy to me is the big trophy. And I got to tell you, I mean, people can say what they want, but if you look at Shesterkin, he's got the best goals against. What has he got? Goals against average is the best in the league.
I think he's tied.
No, sorry.
He might be tied with somebody.
His save percentage. His save percentage is best in the league.
Save percentage is the best. He's second in wins. He's one behind the leaders at third. They have 35. I know that, and I think his goals. I think his goals against is like 1 or 0.2 less than the leader right now.
Yeah. So.
I think he's going to get a lot of votes. I do. I think he'll get a lot of votes.
Lot to talk about there. With that being said, I mean, we all, we got to see. I'm excited for what the Rangers are doing. Everything else is fun, but there's a lot to be said about what Shesterkin has done this year. There's a lot to be said what Chris Kreider is doing this year. Yes, you got Austin Matthews. Yes, you have Leon Draisaitl, and you have a lot of other McDavid. You got some other players scoring goals and things like that. But you look at a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a while, and we could talk about a couple of different teams. It's been an exciting year, a lot more exciting than maybe was expected, especially for Original Six teams. It's nice to see Toronto doing what they're doing. Especially for Canada. And then you have the New York Rangers haven't made the playoffs in what, 4 or 5 years?
3 years it was. Well, they had that play-in game or whatever. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, stupid stuff that they do, and it's exciting for Original Sixes like Toronto and New York, and around the league, you look at a team like Colorado who
they're for real. They're for real. They're for real.
Yeah, and then you look at Carolina who. It's a southern team that it's not a big hockey city, and yet, Kasi and I at the beginning of the year were like, who are the Carolina Hurricanes?
I still don't know who they got.
And here they are, one of the scariest teams in the league. And then you look at the Panthers,
Oh, yeah.
So.
Especially the Panthers, especially after all the bullshit with Joel Quenneville. Think about that.
Oh, right, yeah.
After that, I mean, something like that could bring a team down. That kind of a disastrous thing would happen where Joel had to resign. And they just kept motoring.
Right.
It is what it is, big boy. It's gonna be fun. There's still lots to work out though. What playoff positions? Who's gonna do this? And I still don't know the actual playoff situations. What's what? How does it work? I personally wish before we get off the air, I wish they'd just go back to the olden days, like one to a top 16, one plays 16, two plays 15. I mean that's the fair way to do it because that makes you feel like you earned it. You know what I mean? You earned the right to be first place overall. But you're gonna have some really good hockey clubs that are gonna be out of the playoffs after the first round.
Yep. And I think that really hurts the game.
I do too. I think it's stupidity, but.
And next week when we come on, and we'll have a better understanding of where teams are. It's going to be a good topic because I'll be honest with you, I hate this new format. I think it's ridiculous. And Kasi just made a great point. Teams that shouldn't get eliminated as early,
it's over. Can I tell you? We're done. Looks like we're done for the night, folks. So thanks for coming on and listening to our bullshit. Be ready for the next show.
All right, so you lost me, and I'm sorry. I had a technical difficulty. I just wanted to say, show's been fun. We'll catch you next week right here, Instigators Hockey Show. I think we're doing Monday. Get on the Facebook group of the Instigators Hockey Show. We will advertise when the game, when our show will be. Sorry to get cut off. It is what it is. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. For Katsi and I, thanks for joining. We'll see you next week right here, the Instigators Hockey Show. Good night, everyone.